General Hospital spoilers. 3 teens targeted. Jason's hint means big trouble for Danny, Rocco, and Charlotte. Port Charles is no stranger to danger, especially when it comes to its youngest generation. But this time, the storm brewing is darker, more calculating, and far more personal than anyone realizes. And at the center of it all is a cryptic warning from Jason Morgan, one that may be the only thing standing between 3 teens and a crisis that could change General Hospital forever. This is the story of Danny Morgan, Rocco Falconeri, and Charlotte Cassadine. 3 teenagers unknowingly caught in the crosshairs of a chilling new threat. And as the adults scramble to piece together the clues, the sinister truth slowly rises to the surface. It started quietly. A message. Simple. Untraceable. Sent to Danny Morgan's phone in the dead of night. I saw what you did. You shouldn't have been there. Danny stared at it for a long moment, convinced it must be a prank. He deleted it, rolled over, and tried to sleep. But something in the pit of his stomach twisted with dread. He didn't tell Sam. He didn't tell Jason. Not yet. Danny's world had always been split between danger and safety, secrets and truth. His father was Jason Morgan. No one knew better what shadows could hide. But Danny also inherited Jason's stubborn streak, his instinct to handle things alone. And that was exactly what the sender was counting on. Across town, in a different bedroom, another teen was about to face a similar nightmare. Rocco Falconeri woke to the sound of buzzing. His phone lit up with a message that made his chest tighten. Don't think you can hide. I haven't forgotten. Rocco sat upright, instantly alert. He wasn't like Danny. He didn't have a mob enforcer father, but he did have a cop mother and a father who'd seen more danger than any man deserved. Rocco glimpsed through his blinds, searching for movement outside. Nothing. He locked his phone and clenched his jaw. Just a prank, wasn't it? But then came Charlotte. Her message was different. You should have died that night. She froze. This wasn't a prank. This was a threat with history, bloody, traumatic history. Charlotte read the line over and over again, her pulse racing. Her hand shook for a long minute before she forced herself to breathe. She knew who might want to hurt her. She had spent the past year battling nightmares, guilt, fear, and the heavy Cassadine legacy that followed her like a curse. She had survived Victor Cassadine. She had survived her own mind when she'd been manipulated. But this felt worse, colder, more personal. The 3 teens didn't know it yet, but someone was watching. Someone who had studied them, learned their patterns, and waited for the moment they were most vulnerable. The attack hadn't started physically. It began psychologically. And it was only step 1. Jason Morgan wasn't known for nerves. He wasn't known for overreacting. When he spoke, people listened, especially when that voice carried the unmistakable edge of danger. It happened at Kelly's. Danny, Rocco, and Charlotte had met for breakfast, each trying to pretend everything was normal. But Jason walked in, scanned the teenagers, and immediately sensed something off. Danny looked tense. Rocco kept glancing at the door. Charlotte was pale. Jason didn't speak. He simply sat beside Danny and leaned in. Something's coming, he said quietly. Be careful. Danny stiffened. Rocco blinked. Charlotte swallowed. Jason didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. Sam approached with a puzzled look. Dante followed moments later. Laura walked in behind them. Heather, Esme, Cyrus, Victor's remnants. Port Charles never had a shortage of suspects. But Jason's intuition wasn't vague. It was precise. Targeted. When Dante questioned him, Jason simply replied, I heard something. Someone's after the kids. The moment the words left his mouth, the cafe fell silent. Laura's hand gripped the back of a chair. Sam's expression turned deadly still. Dante immediately called the station. Charlotte stared down at her plate, fighting an overwhelming urge to confess about the message she'd received. Danny and Rocco exchanged nervous glances, each realizing the others were carrying fears of their own. Jason's warning wasn't dramatic. It was a simple statement of fact. But once Jason Morgan delivered a warning, Port Charles knew it was real. And so did whoever was watching from across the street. The figure sat in a parked car across from Kelly's, watching the teens through binoculars. A notebook lay open on the passenger seat. Pages filled with photos, handwritten notes, maps, timelines, descriptions of typical routes Danny, Rocco, and Charlotte took every day. The 3 names were written in large black letters. Daniel Morgan, Rocco Falconeri, Charlotte Cassadine. Beneath them, a 4th name, crossed out violently with deep strokes of ink.
Scout Morgan.
The figure smiled slowly, chillingly. Round 1, and they are already nervous, the voice murmured. The war hadn't begun yet.
This was only the setup. Sam didn't sleep that night.
Once Jason told her about the danger, her instincts kicked into high gear. Danny was her world, and no one, threatened him without facing her fury.
Sexting? A dare?
A stupid prank?
Sam asked. Danny shook his head. She could tell he was lying.
Danny, if something happened, you have to tell me. He looked away, torn between fear and pride. Jason stepped in quietly. Whatever it is, we won't be mad. Danny hesitated, but still stayed silent.
Jason exchanged a look with Sam. Danny knew something, and he wasn't ready to talk.
Dante was terrified, something he rarely showed. Rocco, you come straight home.
No day tours. No hanging out alone.
Rocco nodded, but his father's intensity only scared him more. Lulu was still in rehab recovering from her long coma, and the distance between them had left Rocco more emotionally exposed than ever. He needed his mother's grounding presence, but she wasn't there.
And the figure targeting him knew that.
Charlotte was used to her father's protection, but this time, something felt different. Valentin paced the living room, fury simmering beneath the surface. Who sent the message? What did it say? Charlotte, tell me now.
Charlotte finally broke down and confessed. Laura stepped in immediately.
Valentin, stop, she's terrified.
But Valentin's fear came out as rage. He had lost too many people. He refused to lose his daughter too.
Charlotte curled up on the couch, holding herself. Grandmother, someone wants me dead. And for once, Laura Collins Cassadine had no comforting words. Dante gathered information.
Jason made calls.
Valentin sent bodyguards to shadow Charlotte. Sam installed security systems everywhere.
But something still didn't fit.
The messages weren't random. They were calculated, crafted to evoke specific fears. Danny's message referenced a place. Rocco's message referenced something unresolved. Charlotte's message referenced a night she barely survived. Jason began retracing the kid's steps over the past 2 weeks. When he reached the pier near the warehouse district, something clicked.
A maintenance shed door had been forced open. Inside, he found food wrappers, a cot, a surveillance board, printed photos of the 3 teens. Jason's blood turned to ice.
Someone had been planning this for months. But there was something else, something that made Jason freeze. A symbol. Spray painted on the wall. The bridge crest. Jason hadn't seen it in years, but he knew exactly what it meant. But there was something else, something that made Jason freeze. A symbol. Spray painted on the wall.
The bridge crest.
Jason hadn't seen it in years, but he knew exactly what it meant.
Someone connected to his past had returned.
Sam stared at the symbol on Jason's phone, her face draining of color. Tell me that's not.
It is, Jason whispered.
The same symbol had been found years ago when Jason was presumed dead and another man, Henrik Faison, was tormenting the people he loved.
But this wasn't Faison's mark. It belonged to someone else. Someone far worse.
A rogue syndicate Jason had infiltrated decades earlier as an undercover assignment, back before even Sonny fully understood what Jason was doing. Jason destroyed their operations, saved dozens of lives, and left no survivors.
Or so he thought. But the symbol implied that one remained. And they knew how to hit Jason where it hurt most. Through his son. Through his family. Through Port Charles' next generation.
Sam whispered, Jason, they are targeting the kids because of you. Jason didn't deny it.
Then I'll end it, he said.
Danny, desperate to protect his parents from worrying even more, made a terrible decision.
He went to meet the sender. Alone.
The text came.
Danny panicked. He didn't want anyone thinking he'd done something wrong. He didn't want Jason going back into full mob war mode.
He slipped out through the back door, hoodie pulled tight, and biked toward the waterfront.
But what he didn't know was that he was being followed. By someone who wanted him dead. And someone who wanted him safe.
At the same time Danny left his house, Rocco received another message. Danny's in trouble. Your fault if you don't come. Rocco grabbed his coat and ran out the door, scared for his friend.
Charlotte received. Rocco and Danny are already on their way. Don't chicken out now. Her hands shook violently. She didn't want to go.
Every instinct told her to run.
But the threat was too real. The fear too heavy. Her conscience too haunted. She went. 3 teens. 3 paths. 1 trap.
Rain fell in icy sheets as the teens gathered at Pier 47. Danny arrived first.
Hello, he called into the dark. No answer.
Rocco appeared next, breathless. You got a message too?
Danny nodded uneasily. Charlotte arrived last, pale and trembling.
This wasn't a good idea. Before she could finish, a voice echoed from the shadows. Oh, it was an excellent idea. A tall figure stepped forward wearing a mask, holding a phone displaying their messages. You 3 made this very easy. Fear surged through the teens. What do you want?
Danny demanded.
What I'm owed, the figure whispered. Your father took everything from me. Now I take everything from him.
The figure lunged. Charlotte screamed.
Rocco shoved Danny behind him.
But before the attacker could strike, a gunshot rang out. Then another.
Jason emerged from the darkness like a phantom, blue eyes locked on the masked figure. Step away from my kid.
The figure laughed.
You're too late. Before Jason could reach Danny, another shape moved behind the crates.
This one was smaller, faster, silent.
A second masked figure jumped onto the pier, holding a device that immediately flicked to life, showing a countdown timer.
A bomb.
The first attacker shouted, It's over, Morgan.
Jason fired a warning shot. Drop it. Now. But the masked man only grinned.
You killed my brother. Now you watch me take your son. Danny, Rocco, and Charlotte froze. Jason stepped forward, his voice deadly calm. Your brother died because he tried to kill a child.
An accident, the attacker roared. Jason shook his head.
He made his choice.
And so have I.
But before the man could detonate the device, a brick smashed into the back of his head.
The attacker dropped instantly. Behind him stood Charlotte, shaking, crying, but strong.
Jason grabbed the bomb and tossed it into the harbor milliseconds before it exploded, sending a plume of water skyward. The second masked figure fled into the darkness. Jason ran to Danny, pulling him into a tight embrace. You okay?
Danny nodded, shaken. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't want anyone to get hurt.
Jason held him firmly. No judgment, only relief. Rocco and Charlotte stood nearby, clutching each other, trembling.
They weren't just victims anymore. They were survivors. But the danger wasn't over. Not even close.
Dr. Finn, Liz, and Portia rushed to examine the teens. Physically, they were fine, shaken, bruised, exhausted.
Emotionally, that was another story.
Laura held her granddaughter, whispering, You are so brave, sweetheart. Valentin never left Charlotte's side, fury blazing behind his eyes.
I'll find the second attacker, he vowed.
And I'll end this myself.
But Laura grabbed his arm. No.
This cycle of violence ends now.
Valentin didn't answer, but his silence said everything.
Dante hugged his son tightly, something Rocco hadn't felt in months.
I should have told you, Rocco said. Dante shook his head. No.
I should have seen the signs. He called Lulu later that night, voice cracking as he explained everything. Lulu wept, promising she would come home soon. Rocco felt something he hadn't in months. Hope. Sam cried openly as she hugged Danny, kissing his forehead. Never, ever, keep something like this from us again. Danny nodded, ashamed. I didn't want Dad to have to choose between us and the danger. Jason knelt in front of him.
Danny, protecting you is the choice.
My first choice. Always. Danny threw his arms around him. For the first time in a long time, Jason let himself break a little. Hours later, when the teens were finally settled and the chaos at the hospital had calmed, Jason received a message on his burner phone.
No number. No name. Just one line. Round 1 was fun. The girls saved them this time.
Let's see if she can do it again. Then,
a photo of Scout Morgan
walking home from school.
Alone. Jason's heart stopped. The bridge crew wasn't one person. It was a network.
And they weren't going after 3 teens. They were going after all of Jason's children. This was only the beginning. Back in the abandoned shed, the second masked figure removed their mask.
Not a man. Not a stranger. A woman. With a chilling smile.
Eyes full of calculated hatred. She crossed out Charlotte's name in the notebook. Then wrote a new one. Scout Morgan. With a red circle around it.
she whispered.
Jason took my brother. Now I take his legacy.
She closed the notebook.
The war for Port Charles' next generation had begun. And this time, not even Jason Morgan might be able to save them all.